So to me, it's creating a space where all are welcome. And a different way to say that, it's funny because ironically, despite being in marketing, I absolutely have a blood-curdling hatred for sound bites and acronyms in particular. So I'll speak in more plain talk than maybe other of my colleagues might. I want to create an environment that broadly looks like the world that we live in. And up until quite recently, the business world was a little cocoon nested within this increasingly diverse world, but immune to it. It was a little white bastion in the middle of a very multicolored ocean or constellation. And that dog won't hunt anymore, to use an Americanism for you. So we need to figure out a way to make what happens inside the four walls of a business more closely mirror what happens outside of those four walls.
Hello, my name is Patrick Reynolds. I am the CMO of BlueConic, and about a month ago now, I recorded a webinar on the topic of sort of DEI and inclusivity, broadly speaking, which we then shared through the CMO Alliance channels, as well as a little bit through the BlueConic channels and a lot on LinkedIn. And the webinar really garnered some really interesting conversations on kind of like three different levels, each of which had slight overlap and each were sort of distinctly important though. So the first is I thought it sparked a really good dialogue at large with people about what's the role of diversity and equity and inclusivity and how does that play into marketing, which historically has a fast follower, birds of a feather kind of a look to it, but there's a lot of similar vibe people in marketing. And I think broadening that aperture is really wise, and that conversation was really interesting to me. So I thought that was really helpful. The second one is within the company. It had a really good catalyzing effect to stimulate, again, conversation about what does it look like in the present? How are we doing today? How would we do things differently moving forward? Where are we recruiting? What criteria do we apply to sort of non-traditional marketing students versus the people that are like sort of one connection away from us on LinkedIn, to steal a metaphor. And that was a really rich conversation about just like, how do we go about going to market, as it were, for marketers in a way that is big tent and value-led and inclusive, for lack of a better term. That was really good. And then the third one, arguably the most important, was just in my own family. We had, we obviously have two generations. We have my wife and I, and then we have my semi-adult children, and it prompted a really rich conversation about the world that they live in versus the world that sort of my generation came up through, and how each of those experiences has shaped our worldview in very different ways. Obviously, there's some overlap, shared values, and all those things, but just the way we think about things, the names we put to things, the words we use, the default postures each of us has are quite different, shaped by experience, and a lot has changed in the intervening years. And that was a really eye-opening conversation. So net, I wanted to have a conversation about a topic that I thought transcended marketing, but was particularly important to marketing. I had that. It was a pleasure and it's super easy to record. Couldn't have been simpler. And upon sharing it, it really stimulated some very, very interesting conversations from a number of different quarters with people I knew, people I didn't know, people I've gotten to know. And I think that's really all you can ask for from a webinar or any sort of marketing event or campaign. So strong recommend. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me. It is patrick.reynolds@blueconic.com. And I hope you find similar success. Take care.
If you want the latest insights from marketing leaders, make sure you tune in and subscribe to CMO Convo, either on our website, cmoalliance.com, or your favorite podcast platform. There's a new episode every Wednesday. Looking to connect with amazing marketing leaders like Patrick? Join the CMO Alliance community at cmoalliance.com/join-the-community. And if you're interested in appearing on the show, contact me, the host of CMO Convo, at contribute@cmoalliance.io.